again, having us all rolling in the aisles. She's driven in from North Carolina just to tell her story today, so I'm really happy about that. She's a former Roanoke native who has traveled from North Carolina to be here today. As always, she will be using the Hoot and Holler stage in lieu of therapy. She is ever so grateful that when she has the microphone, everyone is forced to listen. Buckle your seatbelts and give a warm welcome to the person least qualified to tell a story about Mother Nature. Please welcome Hailey Hendrix.
Hey everybody! I'm gonna try and project, okay? I'm gonna try really hard. It is so good to be back in Roanoke. I don't know if you knew, but I actually used to work at the Girl Scout Council here. Yeah, which doesn't surprise any of you, right? Because I just like emanate grit and pure survival instinct. You look at me and you're like, yep, she would survive alone in the wilderness for sure. And on my first day at the Girl Scout Council, they had created a slideshow to help me get to know the other staff members a little bit better. And every single photo was them on an obscure trail or on the top of a mountain. And I'm sitting there going, when is the appropriate time to ask if we get free cookies? I am an infiltrator, they can sense it, right? And I should add that I was truly fooling no one, right? Like, I don't think they were secretly huddling going, I think she might actually be a pro rock climber. But it was such a great experience and they were all so kind and trying to include me in the conversation. So they said, what's your favorite camping story? And I said, oh dear God, just top of my head, just one? I have been camping one time my entire life. I was 10 years old. My dad rented an RV, and the entire drive to the campsite, I fucking this chocolate and graham crackers, thinking about what I was gonna do to it when it hit s'mores o'clock. Like I was gonna tear it up. And when we arrive at the campsite, my mom, she's got on a full face of makeup, every piece of jewelry she owns. The door's open. She's blindsided by everything. The heat, the bugs, the dirt. It's like she's never been outside before. Around the 3-hour mark, she's like, I can't do it anymore. She calls a taxi. A taxi to come and get her. And that's when my natural survival instincts kick in and I just start raw dogging these marshmallows. Just shoveling them in. I'm foaming at the mouth like a rabid animal. And I can hear my mom in the background going, it's not so much like an address as it is a grid point, you know? Jeff, what's our longitude and latitude? My dad's pissed, my brother's crying because somebody ate all the marshmallows, I get it. So we packed it in and headed home. And when I told my colleagues this, they were maybe a bit wide-eyed. I don't think anybody was particularly shocked that that was my experience. But with that Girl Scout optimism, they had faith that I was gonna learn the ropes and be great. And there are 2 incidents that happened pretty early on that quickly disillusioned them of that belief. The first was when I was helping out at an overnight event, and this little girl came up to me, and first of all, I try and bond with people by teasing them. That's how I show affection. Oh my God, oh, it happened. All right, when you do that to 5-year-olds, they tend to cry. And she came up to me and she had this half bottle of water she'd been given. And she was like, excuse me, is this the only water that we're gonna be given during our entire 2-day stay? I said, look at you, Katniss. Rationing your water like the 75th Hunger Games just began. Okay, I see you. And then her little lower lip starts to tremble. And I'm like, oh my God, I gotta do damage control. And I was like, hey, shh, listen. I would be the first one dead in the Hunger Games. It's amazing I've survived this long in the real world. But she's getting louder, and my gut instinct is to get louder, like over her. And I'm like, I would be dead. There are no Bojangles in the game. And by this point, mercifully, my friend Becca, my coworker, just kind of slowly steers me away from the child. And everybody that works at Girl Scouts, it's so nice. No one goes, well, that was a friggin' train wreck. Instead, she says, how about you sit here with Jody and work check-in? For the rest. Maybe that's more your speed. And I said, I'm gonna sit here with Jody and work check-in. Like, I was so embarrassed. But again, they have faith in me. They're like, she's gonna get it. Let's give her another go. So Becca and I are both new, so we need to schedule a tour of one of the local Girl Scout camps. So we're gonna go for a tour, and we're gonna meet the Ranger Tim. And I am wearing clogs because it is the closest thing I have to outdoor shoes. And we get there, and about 30 minutes into the tour, I'm like, I would like some photographic proof that I was out here in this nature. So I asked Becca if she can take my photo. I give her my phone, and I pose on this embankment by the creek. And I'm smizing, I'm doing my Tyra, like, I'm looking real good, like you can imagine it, right? Like you get it. And just then I feel the ground beneath my feet start to like crumble. And I'm midair, and I shout, help! Save me, Ranger Tim! Save me! And I go down. And I am in 4 inches of water max, right? But I'm rolling around and sputtering like I am drowning, okay? And I can hear Ranger Tim from above, you can just stand up! You can stand up! Which is, I forgot that in my panic. But I stood up, and he launched into action. Like, he's holding onto this tree. He's like, take my hand! And I keep trying, and I climb about halfway up, and then the mud has me sliding back down. And Becca is taking her damn picture. She's like, right? She's howling, laughing. And I'm in shock, and I keep going, my clogs. My clogs are ruined. And she's behind Ranger Tim going, they're hideous! They're hideous, it doesn't matter! So finally Ranger Tim hefts me out of the creek, and I am covered, like the left side of my body is just covered in mud. And I look at him, and he looks at me, and I look at him, and he looks back at me. And finally he goes, and over here we have the fire pit. Excuse me, are you trying to continue the tour? Like nothing happened? I am like making squishing sounds every time I move. There are rocks in my clogs. Sometimes you gotta know when to fold, my guy. I was in the trenches, okay? I'm not doing this, I'm not doing it. So we drove back to Girl Scouts, and I don't know if it was Becca or Tim, but one of those snitches clearly called ahead because practically everybody was waiting in the parking lot for me. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that this is my Girl Scout legacy, right? Like, got a lot of people here today. It didn't matter, right? What else I did, I was always the girl that fell in the creek. That was me. So after about 2 years, I was like, maybe I should get into a field a little bit more suited to my strengths. So I decided I'm gonna take a job at a college in North Carolina. And on my final day at Girl Scouts, I was gifted this plain black mug. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I was like, that's fair. Yeah, that about sums up the work I've done here. I was lucky to be getting anything. Thank you for the mug, that has no meaning. I appreciate it. And when I got to my new job, I was like, hashtag blessed, like second time's a charm. I'm gonna do this right. I'm gonna make a good impression on my first day. So I go into the morning meeting, I've got my farewell Girl Scout black mug, and I sit down, and the vice president introduces himself as Reginald Tiberius Buckner III. And Without even thinking, I said, "Thank you so much for abdicating the throne to be here today. I bet the commute is a real bitch via horse and carriage, but you made it work. You're dedicated. I love it." And then I laughed so hard at my own joke and so long that my boy Reggie B couldn't even start the meeting for like a full minute. I think I high-fived myself at one point. I don't know. It was bad. It was just a blur. And then we noticed that my mug is starting to change color. It's like swirling. And I look, and the mug is now a photo of me being hauled out of the creek by Ranger Tim. And there are words that say, "Save me, Ranger Tim," flashing across the bottom. And that's when I know you can't run from who you are. Mother Nature is always going to have the last laugh. And there are some situations that even Ranger Tim cannot save you from.